Live from the Heartland Mamas studios, this is the Heartland Mamas Podcast. I'm your host, Heidi Henry. The Heartland Mamas Podcast can be found on all podcast platforms, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, proudly part of the Demcast USA network. Like, subscribe, and share because we only have 281 days left to save the USA. Here's what you need to do. You need to call your local or statewide or countywide Democratic office. Do it today. Do it via email. Do it via social media, however you want to do it, and ask how you can help. They need people to staff the office. They need people to do mailings. They need people to help hold meet and greets, coffees for candidates. They need people to knock door to door. They need people to just walk in parades, to just wear your Democratic t-shirt around town so people know that they're not alone. All of those things count, and this is an all hands on deck election. So any little part that you can do or big part that you can do, everything counts and everything matters. So please do your part, because we're going to talk a little bit about this bill that's coming up on the southern border funding. So since the 1980s, when Reagan effed up the immigration reformation, all of those years ago, he gave amnesty to a lot of people that were coming in, mostly from Mexico. But what he didn't account for, amnesty gave them citizenship. What he didn't account for is the fact that a lot of people from Mexico came here to work and then went back to Mexico for the winters, because a lot of the USA can be very brutal temperature-wise compared to beautiful, pretty temperate Mexico, right? It's closer to the equator, except for the mountain regions, and it's pretty temperate there. So a lot of people didn't want to stay here. They wanted to go back and forth. Well, Reagan didn't make a pathway to do that, right? So he completely effed it up, and I think he effed it up on purpose because he was not a smart man. He could read a script, but I don't think he could do any thinking on his own, right? My opinion, but I hate Ronald Reagan. Always have, always will. But here's the thing. The Senate has written a new bill. It's the first chance in 40 years to really get something done. We had a chance in 2016, but John Boehner, you remember John Boehner, only 8 years ago in 2016 told Obama, you know what, I'm not fixing immigration. I'm not bringing the bill to the floor for a vote. It would have passed in a bipartisan measure, but John Boehner could see this. He could see this mess coming. He knew it was coming because it's not people from Mexico that want in here anymore. It's people from all around the world, from war-torn regions that are just, need to get to safety. So they come here and they look for that safety and stability. And there's been a lot of them. So you have Republican rhetoric all the time that says the border's wide open. So the coyotes tell people in other countries the border's wide open. So let's go. Let's all go to America. Some people just fly in. If you're a little wealthier or have a passport, you can buy a ticket and fly in and say, I've always wanted to see the Grand Canyon. You get off the plane in Flagstaff, nobody ever sees you again. Or in Albuquerque, nobody ever sees you again because you go off and do your thing. So you fly in. But a lot of people try to walk in. Maybe they can't get a visa. Maybe they can't get afford the plane ticket, whatever. But we have just as many people. You know, we see the people at the southern border. We don't see the people at the northern border. We don't see the people that fly in and never leave or overstay their visas, right? We never account for that, but it happens all the time. So anyway, the Senate wrote this great bill, and it would really go a long way to fix the issues with funding, with strategy, with the ability to manage the numbers of people and to control the rhetoric, right? So they're almost done getting this bill passed, and some of what's in this bill is not only stuff for the border, but it's also stuff for Ukraine. And we have to address Ukraine because last week Putin told us again, after Trump is reelected, I'm going to flatten Ukraine and then I'm going to Poland and Germany next. Okay, so we've been warned, so we know we need to pass this bill, right? So get on board. But the thing is that the alt-right that's in the House of Representatives and our former president, Orange Caligula, has decided that we can't pass this because the chaos at the border, they feel, is a winning issue for the 2024 election. So let's recap here, okay? The bill is nearly done in the Senate. It'll pass with flying colors. It'll pass in a bipartisan measure. It'll move to the House. House Speaker Mike Johnson does not have to call it to the floor for a vote, just like John Boehner refused to. And then nothing happens. The chaos remains at the border. And Trump would he's already got his little dictator of Texas, Greg Abbott, putting razor wire and razor wire covered buoys to slice people to ribbons and drown them in the Rio Grande. He got Greg Abbott to deploy the Texas National Guard to fight with the Border Patrol. And Border Patrol is the federal government that we pay taxes to manage the southern border. The National Guard is not supposed to do that. Okay, this is supposed to be, and it's mostly Eagle Pass. And the thing about Eagle Pass is very much in the news. But if you go to the east just a little bit, every 1 to 2 miles, there's another gate that comes from the Rio Grande, comes from Mexico, through the wall that Trump put up, a big ugly wall, and the gates are open and people just walk through. So if they come through Eagle Pass, there's a problem. But if they just go to the east a little bit or even to the west a little bit, because remember, this problem's in Texas. New Mexico is managing their border well. California is managing their border well. Arizona is doing a better job. But for some reason, Texas has this maniacal governor right now with Greg Abbott, who just loves to cause human suffering, right? Because his human suffering is a bonus to Trump. He's a sycophant for Trump, right? So here, a sycophant is somebody who just likes to pay compliments, right? He's Trump's patsy. So Trump is using him to kind of pattern what he wants to do. Anyway, so getting back to this, it's really important that we get this bill passed. And it's really super important that you take the time to call, and I'm going to give you the number. So get ready, get a pen right now, or enter this into your phone right now. 202-224-3121, and ask to speak to your member of Congress. Ask, if you're not in Illinois, ask to speak to your senators. If you're in Illinois, ask to speak to your senators, and then speak to your member of Congress. Tell them, for the Senate to pass this bill, tell them in the House to bring it to the floor for a vote, because I'm telling you, it's got enough support in the House right now to pass, and President Biden has pledged to sign it. What it will do is it will take care of the issue at the border, it will end the chaos, and it will fund Ukraine. So we can stop Putin in his tracks and we can take care of the chaos at the border. The chaos at the border is very much contrived. Trump sees this as a winning issue. He thinks to harm people, to cause dissension within the United States, to cause problems is his winningest ticket to 2024. I don't think it is. I think we're all smarter than that. I think that the created chaos at that southern border can be managed. Abbott has deliberately effed it up in Texas, He loves being a dictator. He's up for re-election soon. If we all give Beto $25, help him get people, registered to vote, get them to the polls. Beto is the answer, the only answer I can see for Texas, because Texas has had such terrible leadership since Ann Richards lost to George W. Bush, right? We've just seen him go down this hole. I don't even like to go to Texas anymore. It's just so bizarre there. It's like politics is a full contact sport in Texas, So I feel really bad for them. So you've got your walking assignments today, your phone call assignments today, to call your local Democratic office, to call your member of Congress. You've got a lot to do. We've all got a lot to do. And so from the edge of the Great Red Divide, this has been the Heartland Mamas Podcast. I'm your host, Heidi Henry. Vote blue no matter who. We can get this done. We got to work together. Take care now. Bye-bye.